Remember when they said we were overemphasizing the importance of the Senior Bowl? What's up, Jets fans? This is GreenBean back with another video, and today we're gonna go back in time just a little bit and revisit some of the conversations and discussions and thought processes that we had around the Senior Bowl. Now, before we get into that, I want to just take a second and remind you, if you like the video, and only if you like it, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. It means the world over here at this channel. And if you like what you're hearing, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That helps even more. If you'd like more exclusive content, private meetings, all that kind of stuff, with me, GreenBean, you can join up. You can join the Beanbaggers and hang out with a whole crew of us that get together weekly with all sorts of additional fun stuff. That link is in the top of the description of this very video. Now, guys, we prepped for this draft. We are on the other side. We know who the Jets are taking. We know how it's going to go. We know what we did, everything. When for months leading up to it, we tried to take a look into every single aspect of what was going on out there in the college football world to try to make sense of who we think the Jets could draft. Now, one of those things happened to be the Senior Bowl. And this particular year, we happened to be the coaching staff at one of the Senior Bowl teams. We were the American team, and bring our whole organization down there and get a real up close and personal look at the players. Now, during that time, there was a lot of noise about, we're kind of overemphasizing the importance of this. You know, Senior Bowl players, it's not the biggest deal in the world, and we're just excited because we're trying to make something good out of something bad, because as we know, the worst teams in the league get to coach the Senior Bowl, so it's not necessarily awesome that you're there in the first place. But what you do when you're there is really important. Now, that all stemmed from Phil Savage, Joe Douglas's high-level senior executive, who happened to be the guy that hired him for his first NFL personnel job with the Ravens, Phil Savage. Phil Savage actually ran the Senior Bowl for a number of years. He was the executive director. So we instantaneously had that little bit of a deeper in down there. Phil Savage is from Mobile. He went to school in Mobile. He worked in Mobile. He knows everything about the place. So we had a little bit of an in, and the Jets were able to go down there and really maximize the impact that this experience could have on the team. Now, we liked a lot of the players that were down there. We liked the tight ends. We liked some of the defensive ends. We liked the defensive tackles. We were looking at a lot of the offensive linemen. And then we got to watch the game, and we saw our team, our Jets, our American team, kind of kick the crap out of the Detroit Lions coached national team. Now, we didn't know how much of an impact this would have on the players we selected, but it turns out, now that we're on the other side, we now know that 3 of the 7 selections that the Jets made in the draft happened to be guys that they got an up-close personal look at down at the Senior Bowl. Now, the first one happens to be Jermaine Johnson, and somebody said to me the other day, and this applies to Ruckert as well, why do you keep saying Jermaine Johnson at the Senior Bowl? He didn't play in the Senior Bowl. True. He didn't play in the actual game at the Senior Bowl, but he did show up for the week of practice. They just made a decision that, hey, it's not worth it for him to play, probably because he had such a dominant week of practice that the game wasn't going to show anything else, and then you risk the the potential for injury and all that kind of stuff. So right before the game, he chose to leave the Senior Bowl and didn't play. Same thing happened with Jeremy Ruckert, had a good week of practice, but different reason. He didn't play in the game as well. His grandfather passed away, and he ended up leaving. People it was rumored, and people believed that he was injured, and they were trying to cover up an injury. Not the case. He had a grandfather that passed away, sadly, and he left the Senior Bowl for that. So it looks like those 2 guys who happened to be on our team were guys that they got enough of a look at to bring in during the from the Senior Bowl roster. So what about the other guy? The other guy is Max Mitchell, our 4th-round pick, the first of our 2 4th-round picks. Max Mitchell wasn't on our team, but we still were able to get a look at him down there, and we thought well enough of him to bring him in. Now, I'm going to show you a few bits and pieces of their practice reps down there, and let's take a look at what it is that the Jets were able to see in these guys that they wanted to bring them on. Now, again, Jermaine Johnson, Jeremy Ruckert, and Max Mitchell were guys from the Senior Bowl rosters that they brought on during the draft. Now, I did think that the Jets were going to do a whole different thing in undrafted free agency. I thought that was going to be really where the impact came in. There were quite a few guys that were at the Senior Bowl, made it to the undrafted class, that I thought the Jets were going to scoop up without question, and then you had the impact of our coaches on them, and maybe they would like to come here. Now, at the top of that list is Sterling Weatherford, the other 6'4" safety in this class. I love him, and I thought he was absolutely draftable. He made it to the undrafted class, and I thought, without question, I was just waiting to hear that Sterling Weatherford would be a Jet. Not the case, sadly enough, and it turns out that we didn't really do much as far as our undrafted class went with the Senior Bowl guys, and I was blown away by that. But they did grab 3 out of their 7 picks from the Senior Bowl roster. So let's take a look, just for a brief moment, at what they might have seen in our Senior Bowl draft picks. All right, well, first we're going to look at Jermaine Johnson here. Jermaine Johnson doing some drills. Look at him, nice and fluid. Look at the coach. Yeah, here we go. That was a good rep. Watch him here. Okay, and you can see his athleticism. Again, these are drills. We don't want to overemphasize it, but at the same time, he looks good. Now, here's some of the drills against. That's not a good rep for one of our draft picks. Look, here we go. Jermaine Johnson. Boom. He had Max Mitchell. Thinking he was going to go to the outside, and then he showed his strength and sat him down. That's good. Now he's going against, I think that's Chris Paul out of Tulsa. Yep, you see that, the inside move. So Jermaine Johnson is already showing a little bit of his repertoire here. There he is. Okay, this is where he's going to seal the edge for us, and yep, okay, go in and make the tackle. Obviously, they're not completing the tackles here because it's practice and all that jazz, but you can see him here now again back on the left side. Let's see what he does here. Okay, clogs up the hole. Nice, not bad. So he's showing speed, he's showing strength, he's showing his fluidity. He can switch moves in the middle of the rep, which is nice. Here he goes here. Yep, get off me. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Okay, here he is here on the left end again. I think this is Max Mitchell. Again, I think there's another bad rep for Max Mitchell. Nope. Okay, so he bit on the run, but again, showed his speed. He was in the quarterback's face in about a second. So that's a positive, obviously. Yeah, pressuring the quarterback. Last rep for Jermaine Johnson. Now, so we'll switch it over to Max Mitchell now. This is not Jermaine Johnson that he's going against, and you can see no problem. So Max Mitchell looked very, very good against everybody except Jermaine Johnson. Make of that what you will. One's a first-round draft pick. One is obviously not. So I think that's the way you'd prefer it, but Max Mitchell did a really, really good job against the other defensive ends that he got to play against here. Another good rep. All right, where is he? There he is. Okay. This is actually against Jermaine Johnson, it looks like. Okay. Much better. Okay, see? So Max Mitchell has a lot to be excited about as well, in addition to Jermaine Johnson, who's obviously exciting. There he goes again. So Max Mitchell has a lot to look at. Now, this is one more rep. We'll show this one a couple times. Try to get you a feel of the difference between Jermaine Johnson and Max Mitchell here. You see that? So he was able to beat Max Mitchell. So there you have it. I mean, look, it's really exciting to see these guys and what the Jets were able to see in them. Max Mitchell, clearly not a first-round pick. Not as exciting as maybe a Jermaine Johnson is down at these practices, but showed enough that when the 4th round rolled around, and that's when we want to start looking at offensive linemen anyway. You've heard us talk about this ad nauseum. You don't need to use your 1st round picks every single year on offensive linemen. What you want to do is get your offensive linemen between the 3rd and 6th round and have them on your team for a year or two before they even go in. We call that the pipeline, and we use it a lot for offensive linemen, but it does apply to every other position. But getting offensive linemen in the 4th round, dude, it's a slam dunk. You want these guys to be on your team for a year, learn the system, and then when it's time for them to come in, they're already groomed. You've been developing them. You know their strengths, their weaknesses. You're not throwing them into the fire, and then you didn't have to use a 1st round pick on them in the first place. Now, obviously, we left Jeremy Ruckert. Jeremy Ruckert didn't have too many practices, but already showed the Jets what they needed to see. And obviously, we all know about the love fest between Jeremy Ruckert, his family, and the New York Jets. I'm a firm believer that actually factored in to the decision. I love the pick. I love the pick for more reasons than their family are Jets fans, of course. I think Jeremy Ruckert is an underappreciated catcher, receiver, let's say. He's a catcher. He's an underappreciated receiver, but he's also a very, very good blocker. And I think his work ethic is a slam dunk. Everything about this guy is going to be great. So there you go. The Jets did use the Senior Bowl for their draft picks. 3 of our 7 picks came from the Senior Bowl, and that shows you that this offseason has been nose to the grindstone the whole time. They've used every single thing that they do in the culmination of developing this team that we're going to go into the 2022 season with. I'm super excited. I love that they did that. Would have liked some more undrafted free agents, I gotta admit. But that is what it is. My undrafted free agent video is coming next. Guys, let me know what you think about these 3 candidates. Are you happy that they went this route in the Senior Bowl? Are you seeing the positive that they had that week with them, so they know these candidates maybe a little bit more than they knew some of the guys that they might have been thinking of at the same time, namely the 3rd and 4th rounds where Jeremy Ruckert and Max Mitchell were taken. Maybe they like to... Maybe they used that time that they had with them, and that's what pushed them over the edge to grab these guys. I personally like it. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Let me know. And as always, go Jets.